Hey there, today I want to share with you a really exciting journey from Dympna. Now Dympna is a massage therapist who started as a remedial massage therapist, and then as she had her own kids, she's moved into doing sort of infant massage and training around that sort of thing, and from there has then moved into doing full family training around how physical touch and interaction is so important to families, being able to have that vision of supporting young mums and families in that transition time of their life. Now, what I really love about Dympna's story is you can so easily see the step-by-step that has naturally happened to bring her to the place where she is at the moment, where she's speaking at conferences, running a lot of workshops, doing a lot of training from that background of being the remedial massage therapist originally. So follow along with Dympna, listen for the step-by-step and watch her business journey unfold through this interview. And I'd love it if you could take away some of those learnings to bring to your own business. Fantastic. Great to have you here, Dympna, and thank you so much. We've already been chatting off air a little bit, and I'm already loving to hear your story and what's happened for you as you've traveled that journey from being a therapist right at the start to where you are now. So I'd love to just to have you introduce yourself a little bit with where you are right now. Who is Dympna at the moment, and what are you doing? Share a little bit of the exciting life that you've got at the moment.
Well, thank you for having me, James. Dympna Kennedy. I have an organisation called Creating Balance, which is the core belief of Creating Balance is for getting that balance in life, that we don't go for the extremes of either side. And the people that I focus mainly on are the new parents and helping them in those first 36 months of becoming a parent, because when a baby is born, it's really, there's a parent has been born as well. So it's a new beginning for both, and it's helping them, guiding them along that way, that not so much instructing them, but instilling in them the belief that they have it within them. They have that knowledge. They have that innate knowledge to connect and know their baby.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I certainly know from my wife and I, from our perspective, when we had our first kid, it is a total life change. You know, it's even more of a change than we were expecting. It's going to be a change. It's different to what came before. Yeah. But I certainly remember our first baby was just in your actual life, the things you do day to day, the personality and the understanding of who you are yourself, all of that just changes, as well as literally the activities that you do every single day with a new baby are really, really different to what you do when you're just a couple or when you're just by yourself. Life changes a lot. So it must be a great opportunity to be able to step into people's lives and help them through that time.
It is, because I find I mainly work with executive parents, and look, being a new mother, it's stressful, it's overwhelming, and it's exhausting. But I have found with executive parents, it's all of that plus more, because they have come from this highly structured, highly organized world where they manage teams of people, and suddenly their newest client doesn't read the memo and sleep, doesn't really care what position or title they've held, and their world is turned upside down.
That is such a good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
It's so true. Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like a really great place to be right now, but I'd love to hear a bit of your past too, because I know you have worked as a remedial massage therapist. Would you like to share some of where you started with that, where you started as a therapist, and how that journey has kind of progressed from there to here, where you are now?
Absolutely. I started out as a remedial massage therapist. Again, when you're in that community, you always meet someone who's further down the road than you, further along the path. You get ideas. And when I thought I was happy as a remedial massage therapist, I then went and studied aromatherapy, because I could see the value of adding oil to what you already do. Roll forward a couple of years, two boys arrive.
Perfect.
And like every mother, you want the best for your children. So I looked at the value of massage and felt, well, that's one of the first senses that a baby develops. And it is the only sense that we cannot survive without, is the sense of touch. So that led me to training in infant massage.
Great.
I could see the benefits for my boys in the nights I invested that extra 15 minutes to give a baby, give them a massage before bedtime, made such a difference to their sleep that night than the evening that I felt, you know what, let's just bath and into bed. So I could see the value of that for soothing, settling, just getting to know your baby. So and of course, seeing that value, then looking and saying, what else is there that could add even more? And I went back and studied early childhood education, studied infant mental health, baby yoga, and I continue on that journey today.
What's infant yoga? That sparked my interest there. How does that work? Yoga for babies?
Yoga for babies. You may have come across, there's lots of yoga, different types of yoga classes, and there's, not to confuse it with Mum and Bub's yoga, which is a class that Mum comes along to and baby is welcome and often is on the mat beside baby.
Yeah.
Baby yoga is a class where it's Mum and baby interacting together, and dads. My dads do the yoga as well with babies. So every exercise, for example, may help the pelvic floor of the mum, but it's tummy time for baby.
Huh, how fantastic is that?
So it's a beautiful way to interact, for mum to have some me time, to have time with the baby, but knowing there's benefits here for both.
Yeah, and even the idea of that is coming back to what you were sharing a minute ago, of that creating balance. It's like, yeah, you can do something with your baby that's healthy for you as the new parent, healthy for the baby, and creating a connection between the two. I think that's great.
Absolutely, because a lot of the, mums have so much to do in a day. Babies need constant care in those early days. That two of the biggest difficulties is mums feel they have no time for themselves, and secondly, they don't seem to have quality time with the baby. Time with the baby seems to be in settling and feeding and doing too, rather than being with. So
yeah.
Baby yoga gives that quality time to be with, but also time for the mum to say, this is for me as well. There's a benefit here for me.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, from a business point of view, I know from the clients that we work with a lot of women of that age of having kids, it is a really great sort of lifestyle choice as a career at that point. But it's also something that if you're working for yourself and by yourself, does need a certain level of commitment of time and of energy to be able to keep that business going. Is there anything that you learnt in that time of doing that? Like, how was that business transition for you? Were you working for yourself at the time, or how did that pan out for you?
Yes, I was doing, I guess I had my eggs in more than one basket. So I was doing some massage work within a beauty therapy clinic.
Yeah, fantastic.
Also privately as well. I transitioned, again, the boys were my main priority. So I planned my work around the boys. And as they've got older and went to daycare and went to preschool, then that allowed me those hours to be able to say, I start at 9:30 in the morning, I finish at 2:30 in the afternoon. So I fitted the appointments around the boys.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I think massage itself is such a great profession at that time of life. And I know for Alicia, my wife, when she was going through that stage, she always worked somewhat, but certainly when the kids were young, work just had much less time during the week allocated to it. And then when both our kids were at primary school, it was like this whole world opened up again, where you have this time during every single day where you don't need to be looking at the kids or focusing on the kids. And there's this time that can be spent back in business, back with clients, even just doing other stuff that's like not child focused. It's able to go out wider. And it is, it's really great to have that dance. It's the to and fro. It's like sometimes we focus our energy on the kids, that when they need it the most, it's great to be able to spend time with it. And then to be able to afterwards pull that time back into something else that we value or something else that's supporting us is a really natural and great part of life. It's a good career to be able to do that with. For you though, what were the next steps? Because I know you, at that point, it sounds like you were doing mostly massage itself, mostly treatments, but now you're working in more like a training or a coaching area. What's that pathway look like for you?
From transitioning from doing, going back to the remedial massage to what I'm doing now?
Yeah, I guess so. Like what I was saying to you earlier, which I'll repeat just for people who are listening, but it is very common for therapists who are as busy as they want to be, whether they're working around kids or not.
Yes.
It's like you do the number of treatments that you set yourself in a week, and there's really nowhere else you can go once you've reached that limit. You can't cram more time on backs into your week necessarily to be able to just grow your business or increase your income or any of those other goals that might come around business. Even if you've got kids and your cap is only, 10 treatments a week or whatever it might be, you can't easily just get more and more. Yet you've transitioned into some of those other things that we talk about with therapists, which is, running conferences or speaking at places, running workshops, those kind of things. How did that transition come around for you, and what did that look like?
What did that look like? Simply because I wanted to be able to help more people, to share the value of infant massage and baby yoga, to share that value, because as a new parent, if I just had you, James, over a period of a morning or an afternoon, you can see that value. But it's teaching that value to a greater audience. So I started running groups where mums and dads, so mainly mums, would come in weekdays from class sizes between 10 to 15, often up as high as 20 mums would come to the group. And it would be part educational, information and sharing of knowledge. So it wasn't just me standing at the front giving instructions. It was a safe forum for the mums to share their week, share how they felt, how their babies were going, and to be able to not compete, but to compare and learn of each other. Then from that group, being able to listening to what their frustrations were, what would make life better for them. And I found that the mums who were coping better had the calmer babies. But why had they calmer babies, and why were those mums coping better? They had a partner that was involved. So that led me to then running classes just for the dads. The dads, then they were run on Saturday afternoons. They still are on Saturdays. And dads became my biggest promoter of the dads classes. Initially, going around the class and saying, what made you come here? 9 out of 10 dads would have said, I had no choice. I was signed up. Now my dads would say, my mate told me.
Wow, that's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, or, I get dads that come back that have done it previously with their first baby, coming back to the second class, with second baby. So that's because I done a lot of classes exclusively for dads. There's so much for mums. There's mothers groups, there's mums forums, and dads can't feel left out. And I come from a family of having 3 brothers, growing up on a farm, lots of boy cousins. I went to school. I was the only girl in a class of 19 boys. So I felt I could really connect and communicate with the men really well. That through that work, I was then approached by the Australian Infant Mental Health Association to speak at their national conference just on connecting with dads and how to get dads engaged and on board and coming to classes.
Wow, what a fantastic opportunity. That's great.
Yeah. So through that talk at the conference, then opened up, I guess, that confidence within yourself that, yes, I have a message, a worthwhile message to spread. And I have since then spoken at numerous conferences for different types of networks. So the Early Childhood Association, the Australian Nanny Association, and of course the Infant Mental Health.
Yeah, what a fantastic journey that you've been on. And it does sound like you've had opportunities that have been there and then you've stood up and actually taken them. That's part of what I'm hearing is you've had this experience of being the therapist, of being a mum yourself, and then you've done the training sort of backing that up. And then you've looked at what the people coming to your classes need. You've responded by creating something that's working for them. And that has just sort of continued to snowball then into getting more opportunities, more invites to being in those bigger opportunities, I guess, being in those bigger forums and bigger places. What do you see then as being the next thing? Like, where is this snowball that's kind of rolling along here? Where's it leading? What's next for you?
What's next? Well, again, I believe that we can never come in as the expert, as the one that knows everything. It's your clients, it's the babies, it's the parents. So it's listening to what's their frustrations. If I had a magic wand, what could I make better for you? So that led to what I found was the next frustration, working well with the mums, coming and engaging with the mums, having the dads, seeing that feedback, getting them. The next step was getting the mums and dads together without the children. And
right.
looking at that plan of babies, it was going at this stage, I was now getting parents coming back for the second time, and their issues and their problems had changed, not so much with the new baby, but with the toddler, and how the toddler had gone from it was just me to now I have to share my parents, to tantrums, to those frustrations that come with being a toddler. So that extended to the class of bringing parents together and looking at what their beliefs were, how they were parented, and what they wanted for their child in terms of having them thrive and flourish. Because we hear a lot of people make the comment, that didn't do me any harm.
Yeah.
But do we want to just survive our childhood?
Yeah, to just not do harm. Or do we want to do some good?
Do we want to thrive in childhood? And again, then that led to the next stage of who cares for the baby? Who cares for the toddler? And again, that brought in the grandparents with the next level of issues that was raised, because grandparents, and you're looking at two different sets of grandparents with perhaps different belief sets as when it comes to discipline. So I now run classes for grandparents to, I guess, bring them on the journey of this is how it was done back then. This is how we've done it. Here's what your daughter-in-law is now hearing. Here's the value of what she's hearing, because we know so much more about brain development and emotional development in children. So it's bringing them on that journey that it's like aha. So it's not, this fluffy stuff and children are allowed to run free and do what they want. So my next step along that was running classes for grandparents, and then going into childcare centres and teaching what I know to childcare workers and teachers, because they're the next group of people that look after your children.
Yeah, that have influence there too. I love it. I love that you're responding to everything as you go and always looking for that next opportunity and the next level, and building yourself up as an expert in that space is, I guess, that's what it's about, isn't it? It's about always looking for that next thing and knowing what it is that people need at any point. So it sounds like you've got quite a lot going on now, a lot of expertise. You've got a lot of opportunities coming your way. But I would love to hear also from you, along that journey, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced? Because I know business is never easy. It's never as straightforward as it sounds when you talk for 10 minutes and just go, this is what happened. It's never that simple. There's always times when you struggle, times when you are faced with challenges and you're not sure what to do. What can you think of that might be like your one biggest challenge that you could share with us now?
My biggest challenge would have been frustration among some government agencies. I guess had to almost say, give me a go. Let me run this program for the people who don't come under what we call high-risk families. And it was amazing, the outcome. Obviously, there is no government funding for running programs for families who are not deemed to be at risk. But I have now established it that I do that privately. I run, I get 25 parents sign up every quarter at a time. We're booked up to the end of this year because of the shifts and the changes in those families. So to me, it does not matter where you live, what your income level is, what car you drive. If you have children, you're going to face the same types of problems. And I firmly believe that regardless of where a parent comes from, their children deserve for their parents to hear this message, to hear the message that we teach in the program.
Yeah, that's fantastic. A great equalizer being a parent or having parents even as a baby. It's a great equalizer because you're absolutely right. A baby is too young to understand I have money or I don't have money. All they have is the experience of being a baby. So it's like whatever parenting advice you can give a parent that's going to help improve that experience is ultimately what's going to make a better young life for the baby themselves. Yeah, I love it.
Absolutely. But you touched on something, and it's been here in the back of my head. You touched on a word at the beginning of the interview where you talked about the therapist, the massage therapist starting out, and they're working, their hours, and they're small business, and they're, starting out small in their small clinic. And I believe that's one of the biggest challenges for a massage therapist starting out is to use the word small. Because even if it is in a room in their house or a room in a clinic and they only have time to see 3 patients a day, it's valuable to each one of those patients. So they're doing major work. So I think that's the one, if I was to share one key, is to never look whether you have 1 client or 10 clients that what you're doing is small or insignificant, because there'll be so many people out there that may dismiss it and see it as a part-time job just to fill in those couple of hours in your day, bit of pocket money, and that can keep you small rather than look and say, this is big work, it's major work, it's life-changing work. It's like throwing the 1 fish back. It was important to that 1 fish.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. And it's certainly what we look at too is that a massage therapist or any kind of health professional is in a really key place of trust in that relationship with the clients. And it's something where the influence you can have over a client's life, over their journey, is way more than just that 1-hour treatment that you've got in the treatment room. The influence that you can have on that client goes far beyond that. And even like you're modeling that, you're running classes and you're setting yourself up into a space where you are leading the way and have a really strong message that you can push through to parents everywhere. And I think that's a really great example of the same thing. You're taking it to a bigger level, but even someone who is in a small business, as you say, small in, I don't know, small in finances or small in number of treatments maybe, but big in the influence and the impact that that can still have with the clients that they've got. Yeah, that's fantastic. If you're looking back at that journey and you're looking at the influence that you're able to have now and to have grown over that time, what would you say is a piece of advice you would give to therapists who are in that position where maybe their business is small, but their impact is big, or they want their impact to be big, and they're in that position of looking at where they're going and looking to the future and wanting to grow? What's your advice to someone like that in that position?
I think you can get it through chatting to them. What's their passion? What's their level of passion? Can they talk about it all day if they had someone to listen? What do they do when they're not in the clinic? Are they still reading, researching, wanting to continue to learn? I think those things are really important, that you're doing it with your heart, you're just so passionate about it that you love it. And if you love something, then you look at it at a completely different angle. You're seeing your client as how can I rebook them again because I need the income, because and coming across almost, I'm not saying they do, but almost maybe pushy in a way that can push a client away. Where if we come across, and you will do if you're passionate about it, that you're there to help them, to advise them, to guide them, but you leave the ultimate decision to them. But if you have are teaching your client outside even of your scope, so not being afraid to say, who you should see, who I would highly recommend is this kinesiologist, or see another, an acupuncturist. Not being scared to refer your clients to someone else that you believe could help them even more so than you. Because that client then knows that at the core, you have their well-being and health at your heart. And I think if you have that energy, that comes back. Because those clients, I've had parents come to me that I've said, who I think would be really beneficial to see first, or who would be in a better position to help you than I would. Those parents become my greatest advocates. They're the ones that send people to me because I didn't take them simply because they came to me. Yeah. So I think having that passion of putting the person first will come back. Yeah.
Yeah. And being heart-centered and authentic is what you're talking about. And I love that. And I think the massage profession does attract people who really are very heart-centered. Mm-hmm. It's honestly something where if you do have a vision of just getting rich and no heart around people, massage is not the profession you would choose. The people who get into this business get into it because they do love connecting with people and they love being able to heal and help their clients. And having an authentic way of being able to do that is great. And I think one of the challenges, just like you said, is for some people, it does take some time to recognize that they do have authentic skills to bring, and being able to do simple stuff like rebooking their clients multiple times if they need it is a skill that is still incredibly useful as a heart-centered, outcomes-driven thing. Of course, they're going to benefit from seeing you more. If that's what they're going to benefit from, why be nervous to tell them that? Just tell them, book them in, and you're actually doing the best that you can to serve that client by booking them in to a point where they're healed, or they're having maintenance even. I know that's something else that you believe in, is that kind of idea of let's just treat people so that they maintain good health. Is that right?
Absolutely. I always look at an analogy of a car. What's our car worth? 30,000 to 90,000. And we have a regular service. We never drive that new car until smoke comes out of the engine. We have a little reminder, let's go for a service checkup. Yet our body's priceless. And we often keep running and burn them out. So it's looking at what if we had a regular, that maintenance service that you never actually burnt out. But I think the issue for a lot of therapists that I know who are friends and I've trained with is because they're in the industry of healing and helping people, that there's almost at a level of guilt that they charge. And I share with them Mother Teresa and say, Mother Teresa helped the most vulnerable, but yet Mother Teresa was very skilled at going out and getting the backing and the finances to be able to keep her orphanages going. So you need to value your work, and you value your work by setting that, what you charge for your work, because long term you actually do a greater disservice to your clients if you're no longer around, because you couldn't afford to keep doing your work.
That's right. You're treating no one down the track.
So I think it comes to that value in your work. I know if I'm presented with 3 cards for, let's say, maybe a hairdresser or a massage therapist, I've just recently come back from overseas and looking for hairdressers, and you have a hairdresser that charges £10, another one that charges £25, and one that charges £40 for the same service. Automatically I'm like, £10? No, too risky, because it tells me they perhaps are new, they're not confident, they're perhaps not that long in the industry. Where I would then look at probably the middle one to test what the middle. So again, for massage therapists, if you charge $40 an hour and someone else is charging $80 and someone else is $120, why are you charging $40 or $50?
Yeah.
Really look at your value.
Yeah.
And we have to value ourselves before others do.
Yeah. And price, you're right. Price is one of the single easiest indicators of value to someone who has never been to you before, and of quality. It's like, how do you judge if you've never been to see someone, whether they are quality or not? It's a whole bunch of different ways that we might judge that subconsciously, but price is one of the single biggest ones. If someone is too cheap, we naturally just assume that they're lower quality. And if someone is more expensive, it's just such a simple indicator. We assume that they're better quality.
Yes.
And usually it's true. That's the reason our brain kind of does that little mental thing, because it is quite often true. So it's a perfect example, a perfect analogy. We're going to have to finish up there, Dympna. Thank you so much for coming along and having a chat today. Is there a way that people can get in touch with you more?
Initially, they can come and join me at Facebook, Creating Balance Australia. Do drop me an email at support@creatingbalance.com.au.
Fantastic.
And I'll be in touch.
Yeah, and I'll put those in the show notes. So if anyone's listening along, you can go read the show notes and you'll be able to look those up. That's no worries at all. Absolutely fantastic to hear, and really just so astoundingly heartening to hear your story, Dympna, from going from being a therapist that's done quite well as a therapist, growing through that into a place where you're still continuing that passion to help and heal people that are your clients. The journey that has looked like as you've gone through it, though, as it's changed and as it's grown, maybe the mission has stayed underlying the same, but the actual direction and what it looks like has changed. It's a really fantastic story to hear, and I love the passion and the joy that you're bringing to that place. So well done. Thank you so much for being on the show today, and I can't wait to catch up with you next time.
Thank you so much, James. Thank you.